This area is suicide. If you got a way around it, ain't no shame in taking it.
with us?
You go on ahead, Captain. I'm not keen on ships, even when they're in the best of shape.
too. You know corpses shit themselves, right? Enjoy the smell. Hello, my name's Jen. I'm the chief engineer on this gunship, and I'd like to let the record show that our captain is a total fucking hullhead. I told him again and again that without fixing our regulators, spinning up the engines are going to blow through our coils and we'll go flying off in a completely random direction. Well, here we are. Thinking we'll hit soil in about 30 seconds. This is your chief engineer signing off for what is probably the last time. It's a shame you can't see this middle finger I'm holding up, because I'm doing it as hard as I can.
If the iconoclasts reach that ship first, there won't be any chance for a peaceful monarch. I don't suppose you've found the targeting module yet. I've sent patrols, but they're running into trouble with the iconoclasts. They're all mad! And what's more, they left us! I don't see any way for us to work together. Not this again.
Remember what we practiced, sir?
Yes. The words in those reviews were very hurtful, but they do not define me. I am a mantipillar, and my will is my cocoon. I can emerge and become whatever I wish. I hadn't thought of it that way. Perhaps you have a point. Supposing you're right, who exactly would you have me work with? The iconoclasts are not the most compromising sorts. How do these things ever start? Once upon a time, Graham and I saw the same problems with MSI. A rigid corporate structure with no regard for its people. But, where I wanted to reform MSI, he only wanted to take it apart. As if starving in the wilderness is somehow better than starving under corporate mismanagement. He won't hear reason now, and I wouldn't trust him again. That's an interesting suggestion. I confess I don't know much about her except that she worked for Rizzo.
There ain't a body on this planet that can keep a group patched up like she has. I don't know how she does it.
I'd be willing to consider it, but I need to see her review first. Excellent. Her review would be in the Rizzo offices in Cascadia. Bring it to me, and I'll see if she's qualified. That's surprising. The board's equipment is usually in top shape. After all, they have first access to any fresh parts or components. A conspiracy? You've spent too much time around Graham. Well, because the module controls the weapons systems. Because once we mount them on Stellar Bay's walls, no Marauder or Raptidon will ever be a threat to us again. Stellar Bay will be as secure as any other settlement in Halcyon. The board's own Salvage and Recovery Clause 32B would say differently.
And they won't dare challenge us over this. Not after the data you found on their experiments here.
Can you imagine what those maniacs would do with weapons like that? They'd wreak havoc.
Or they go and get themselves killed. Then they're not your problem anymore.
The board would consider us complicit in any of their folly. That would only get us ousted again.
And roll back all the progress we've made at reconciling with the rest of Halcyon.
Even if they merely sat on the scraps, the threat of a bunch of anarchists holding a gunship would bring the full wrath of the board down on Monarch. We can't afford that.
I'm skeptical they'd care enough to wipe us out, but if they did, we wouldn't stand a chance.
Oh, you see our quandary then. Look, Celia, he's being funny again.
I don't think so, sir.
Really? Well, I could have sworn... Well, that's not important. What is important is that there's a considerable distance between us and that ship, and most of it is inhabited by Marauders and Raptidons. Oh, it is. And that's not saying anything about the Sulfur Pits, the Mantisaurs, the Iconoclast Rebels... Celia, do we have any pep pills? I'm feeling lightheaded.
I'm afraid you finished them going over the sales reports last week.
Oh, well, I suppose you see our predicament. Good, because we haven't a moment to lose.
Here they come! That's how it's done, Captain.
Any luck bringing the iconoclast to the bargaining table? I don't like the idea that they'll be trying for that module while we delay. Very well. I can't promise anything, but let's see what we have here. Well, it seems like she's actually very qualified.
If it weren't for her, I'd wager the iconoclast would have died off a while ago.
I wasn't expecting to say this, but if you can put her in charge and convince her to agree to a meeting, I'd be willing to discuss terms. Any luck bring... I don't... Ooh, that's very good. I wish I could help, but I've never been very good at making presentations. Oh, I could work on a brief, if you think it would help your case. Excellent! I'll get to it straight away. It'll be a few weeks before it's ready, but one can't put a prep. I don't suppose you've found the targeting module yet. I've sent patrols, but they're running into trouble with the iconoclasts.
The gunship. Have you secured its targeting module? Mount its guns to our walls or the walls of Stellar Bay. The board is coming, Captain, and these weapons will defend us from their blasphemies. Why wouldn't they? As we speak, our message assaults their populace through their favorite entertainment mediums. Surely their retaliation will come soon. All right. The iconoclasts are free folk. We live under our rules, motivated by our own beliefs, all petals on the same flower of enlightenment. Meanwhile, the board strangles the will of its workers. It is the penultimate exercise of a poisoned society where people are enslaved by a corporate ladder. We seek to replace their way of life with ours. Philosophism is the key to unlocking their shackles. This is not anarchy. Society requires structure, Captain. It is just that the board's structure is killing the colony. Ours will not. Before all this, I was a writer for MSI's product catalog. The certainty with which I spun among the other cogs in their machine stifled creativity. That came much later, after Sanjar had taken over. As he drifted closer to the corporate regime, I drifted further from it. I'd known a little about philosophism on the fringes of society, and as I learned more, I found that I was already on the path without even knowing. The freedom it teaches is the same freedom that I desire. I'm sorry. As long as it's been, I'd still rather not speak of it. That was a painful day for us all. It's fine. Perhaps someday I'll be strong enough to recall that tragedy, but today is not that day. The gunship. Have you secured its targeting module? At last. Now we must secure the Stellar Bay landing pad. We will fortify the city against the board's assault.
I'm all for fighting the board and all, but... Oh, shit. Just don't shoot too many of my drinking buddies in there, all right?
And you, Captain. Are you prepared? No. Our hearts have long since closed to one another. He is blinded by his love for bureaucracy. Time is of the essence, Captain.
Hey, Captain. I need your help, and we ought to keep it hush-hush. You know about what happened here, right? The history of Amber Heights?
You're talking about the massacre. Back when the corps were pulling out, pirates raided the place and killed the MSI bigwigs living here.
Right. Common belief is that the pirates fled to an old relay station that had already been abandoned, but nobody could find them. The station's locked up, but one of my people found an old data cartridge in a nearby rat nest. It's mostly corrupted, but I pulled a couple codes off of it. One is the code to the Amber Heights gate. I don't recognize the other, but it's similar. I bet it opens a door. I know it's a long shot, but if we miss something there, if you can get into that station, maybe we can get some answers. Right. The access codes to Amber Heights. What gets me is, if this belonged to the pirates, that means they knew someone there. If someone gave them the gate code, all those deaths, Captain, all that blood is on their hands. Graham isn't fond of talking about the history here. He had friends who worked here. The massacre hit him pretty hard. You know him. Live and let live and all that. I don't want to burden him right now. especially if this ends up being a dead end. I surely do, but it's not far, and if they died in there, they died with their munitions. We'll need them. Besides, if it's filled with valuables from the aristocrats who lived here, we can pawn them off on Sublight and get ourselves ahead on our food budget. Just a warning. The area's infested with mantisaurs. I'd send some help, but we're, preparing for war. Appreciate it. Here's the code. If it works, bring back anything you find. Supplies are best, but information's good too. If someone was behind the Amber Heights massacre, it'd give a lot of people around here some closure to find out who and string them up. Good luck. Watch out for the Taros. Welcome back.